Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls, this is your MMOBomb.com first look at Cosmos Invictus, a free-to-play CCG now available on Steam. I am, as always, the Noob Fridge, Troy Blackburn, and we're going to take a look at this game and see what it looks like, sounds like, plays like, give you an opportunity to get a feel for the game, see if it's something you would like to download and try. There is currently a cash shop in the game you can use to buy card packs and upgrades to your ship and other items. We'll take a look at that momentarily. But there are no Founders Packs or anything like that on the Steam store. It is early access right now, so keep that in mind. One of the first things I noticed through the tutorials was there's a lot of typos and bad grammar, so you'll just have to look past some of that right now. Hopefully some of that will be addressed in the future. That's one of those things, just as a guy who spent his career writing words for a living for the better part of a decade, it grates on me a little bit, but if you can look past that, the gameplay itself and the mechanics in the game are actually pretty solid. Now, on first look at the game, I, of course, initially thought, oh, Hearthstone clone, oh joy, how much fun is this going to be? And even after the free-to-play cast, where myself and Mike Bird and Jason Winter looked at this game for a second when we talked about doing the first look, we were like, oh, it's probably going to be a Hearthstone clone. But when you get into the game, there's actually a lot more to it than that, and it really surprised me. So we're going to look at some of the systems in the game and some of the mechanics that it offers that shakes things up a little bit and makes it a little different than something like Hearthstone or the standard CCG online that you're maybe used to playing. Now, I will preface this by saying this was my first ever online duel game against a person opponent, so you'll have to forgive me. I don't do incredibly well, but I'm still learning. Like I said, there's a lot of moving parts, different mechanics in the game that you're going to have to master over time. And my first game in, I was just learning lessons as I went along, like the fact that this guy has shield slots that he can equip his cards into that keep me from being able to attack him directly, and you have to attack those first. As you'll notice, one of the most obvious things is those slots out on the battleground where you place your units. They do have different effects on them, and you can go in and customize those different slots to the layout that you want, and positioning the proper cards in the proper slots is going to go a long way towards helping you win a game. For my first ever game here, I was just using whatever the default setup was, the default deck, the default battlefront layout, all of that. So first lesson I learned was those shield slots that work as blockers, that you have to attack those first before you can attack anything else. Those are super valuable and super useful. So for my next game, I'm going to go in and definitely set those up and have a couple of those slots, because those help a whole lot. If you played games where you can have blockers and stuff like that, obviously they're a big deal to protect some of your other units and your main ship as well. Now, when playing the game, down at the bottom in the center, your character is your ship, and your ship can be upgraded to have different abilities and more health and generate more energy over time. Of course, playing cards costs energy refills at the end of every turn, and also adds +1 every round up to the maximum of what your ship can hold. This is the basic starter ship. I think it holds like a maximum of 8 energy. And I have one module that allows my ship to attack, but I haven't bought that upgrade yet. You can buy those in the cash shop for the in-game currency. And there again, we'll take a look at the cash shop here in a few minutes. But my ship isn't upgraded at all. This is the base starter ship. So it's not doing a whole lot besides sitting there right now. Also along the way, you'll be able to upgrade different units and buy different pilots that you can equip onto your ships. This is a super complicated game, actually, when you get into it. A lot of moving parts, a lot of things to fidget with, a lot of strategy and tactics that go a long ways towards taking away from some of the RNG that is drawing cards. If ever there was a CCG where you don't need to skip the tutorial, this is it. It's actually useful. It actually teaches you a lot. And like I said, with all these different mechanics going on, several different mechanics going on, including placement of the units, the use of the pilots over in the bottom left-hand corner, upgrading and using of your ship and different modules that can upgrade that ship, all the way up to the largest, most expensive ship that you can buy with in-game currency. And the refuel system is actually very interesting. Well, we're going to get into all that in just a second, but just know if you jump in, man, just play the tutorial. Don't skip the tutorial. As a matter of fact, I may end up showing some of the tutorial footage in this video just because it's so useful and there is a lot to pick up and learn along the way. So let's touch a little bit on the positioning real quick before we get into other things. As you can see, different slots out on the battlefield have different bonuses to them. You see the hand holding the wrench that repairs defense every round. You can see I've got +5 slots that add +5 to attack, +5 to defense. Whenever you place a card there, I got the unit in the center that sort of puts it into stealth and it can't be attacked with like direct damage cards and things like that. And obviously my opponent has the 2 shield slots on the end, which is one of the big reasons he wins the game, besides my just lack of experience with the game whatsoever. So spoiler alert, I do lose this game, just know that. And like I said, I don't play particularly well, but learning a lot of lessons as you go along, man. It doesn't take long for you to be like, oh yeah, I need to do this, because this mechanic is something that when I sit down for my very first game ever, maybe I didn't, remember that right off the bat. And then you'll learn real quick, oh yeah, I probably should have set up some shield slots. The energy system is what you're going to be familiar with any other CCG, whether they call it mana or gold or whatever they use in whatever game you like to play. It's the cost of playing a card out on the battlefield. So you can see right up under my ship is my energy bar. Like I said, it adds 1 every round and replenishes every round, so you're going to get more and more to play with at the beginning of each round as you go further into the game, and each unit has a particular energy cost that you use to play. The system that's going to take the most getting used to is the fuel system. All those cards, if you'll look at the bottom of each card, down in the middle, there's a green bar that has numbers like 2 of 2 or 1 of 2 on it. That's what it costs to actually use that unit once it's out on the battlefield. So if I have a unit out on the battlefield ready to go this turn, if I attack with it, it's going to use 1 of the fuel on that mech or whatever unit that is out there. Now, once you've used up the fuel, they can go down and be refueled. As you see, the one just went down in the bottom left-hand corner there. It's gone down for a refuel. Now, this particular ship, the starter ship, only allows 1 refuel slot. So if any other card uses up all its fuel while that slot is taken up, they're going to just be destroyed whether or not they've got health left. It doesn't really matter at all. So you got to keep that in mind as well. It's not just attacking and destroying your enemies. You can use up their fuel whenever you attack their unit. If they only got 1 fuel left and they counterattack you and you survive, even if you don't do enough damage to destroy them, if their refuel slot is taken up, it's going to destroy the card anyway because they're out of fuel, or at least put them back in their refuel slot and take them off the board. The other system you'll notice down in the very bottom left-hand corner, I've got 5 little pilots, and you can equip those onto a mech that's out on the battlefield. Actually, it looks like I'm trying to do one now. How convenient for me. So they cost fuel in order to put those on a mech. So if I've got a mech out there that has like 2 of 2 fuel, you'll see me put this one on. It uses 1 of the fuel from that mech. So now it's got 1 less fuel, plus it has an energy cost to play those pilots. Now you can go in and customize those different pilots as you want to. There are different ones. Like I said, this is just the base setup, the starter deck that you start with. I just jumped into a game. I was like, hey, let's just see what this is all about. So when you add those on, they're going to have different effects. And when you hover over them and click on them, you'll see what effects they have. And they also give stat bonuses to whatever mech or unit you put those on. So now you can see I've got plus attack and plus defense on the units I used, but also they've got 1 less fuel. So those units only have 2 fuel. When I use 1 of those fuel to put a pilot on it, now it's only going to actually have 1 turn to attack before it either goes down to the refuel slot, or as you can see, when my refuel slot is full, it just destroys the cards. Reading through some of the reviews on Steam, the refuel and the fuel mechanism is probably the most complicated and the most unique, and the thing that's going to take you the longest to get used to. Paying attention to that, and not just their attack and their health and what units you can attack, also paying attention to the fuel costs of your units and trying not to get them destroyed, and paying attention to your opponent's fuel costs. That way, maybe you can take a unit out that maybe you didn't have enough damage to actually destroy it all the way, but if you can use up its fuel, then all of a sudden it's off the battlefield almost as good as destroying it. Like I said, if it goes in its refuel slot, it will come back in a turn or 2. But if those refuel slots are full, that card's going to be gone, and it's just as good as blowing it up. And that's a lot of mechanics for a CCG like this. Like I said, it makes it way more tactical and way more strategic. Takes away from some of the RNG of the card draw. You still do have deck building, and you want to set up your placements out on the map and work with your pilots and build your deck and all that. So there's still lots of stuff to fidget with out in the lobby and play around with the setup, get the setup you want. But once you're in the game, man, it's a lot more strategy and tactics than maybe some of the other CCGs that are out there. I'm sure there are plenty out there that have lots of strategy and tactics and aren't just all RNG. But this one takes a step above, I think, and does a great job of actually making you feel like you're in control, or in this case, when I'm losing my ass here, out of control, because I've never quite got exactly what I need to help me get an edge on this guy. And like I said, man, me going over the mechanics, it's just an overview of kind of what's going on. To really get a good feel for it, you need to play through that tutorial. You want to play through that tutorial. It's going to go a long way towards your understanding of what's going on in the game. At its core, yes, it plays just like any other CCG. You play cards, you attack other cards, you try to attack your other player, your opponent's character every time you get a chance, and get that health down to 0 before yours does. So at its core, yes, it's every other CCG, but all these little elements and these little things to fidget with, both out of the game and in the game, make it really interesting. And, you know, as a guy who isn't typically a CCG guy, I actually had fun playing this. It was fun to get in and fidget with all the pieces and parts and get all these mechanics working and load pilots up. And, you know, I haven't even gotten into upgrading my ships and having the modules that do different things, add shields and more health to your ship and let my ship actually attack. Haven't even got into all that yet because you got to play the game, get some of the currency to be able to afford those upgrades. But we'll jump in right now that I've lost. Yay, losing in a first look video. Hooray. Just goes to show I don't try to pad my stats in these videos. If I lose, I just lose. So we're going to jump out real quick and take a look at the cash shop and the menus and let you get a feel for those. So we'll jump into the hangar. This is where you're going to do all your customization and your fidgeting, and you're playing with your loadout and getting the exact deck that you want to play with. So this is your basic inventory, a good sorting system so you can look for particular cards. You can set up new decks, edit your existing decks, everything you're used to. Going over to the forge, this is where you can craft cards and break down cards. If you've got duplicates, you can melt them down, get the currency that you use to forge items with, and then you can create additional cards if you have at least one copy of them already. And then finally in your hangar is your spaceship. Obviously I've only got the one right now, but if you got different ones, you can go in and customize those. And this is where you can add the different modules. Up top we're looking at the currencies. The green one is the currency you get just by playing the game. You can also buy more of it in the cash shop for a straight cash purchase. Middle currency is your reforge. The one on the right is commendations. So you can go in like this ship, you can see I'm going to right click on it here and it's got different abilities. Right now it has no attack. It's got 200 shields. It's got 1 refuel slot. It's got a maximum of 8 energy. And you can see I've got 1 ship module available. So if I wanted to, I could go into the cash shop and buy the module that I can put in that slot. So you can just click on that. It will automatically load the cash shop here. And there's your 2 attack modules. They all have different stats. Obviously one's a little cheaper, one's a little more expensive. It adds how much damage that you can do with your ship. There's up to 4 different modules available depending on which upgrade version of the ship you have. You can put on attack boost, shields, energy barriers to generate more energy per turn, stuff like that. So, you know, different slots, different upgrades available, but you do have to have the upgraded ships to be able to do that. And they cost up to, I believe it's like 6 million currency. Yeah, the best one here is 6 million of the in-game currency. There again, you can buy that currency directly with cash purchases through the cash shop. So I'm not sure what matchmaking is like. Surely you're not going to be a starter ship and get matched with that high level ship, but I don't know that at this point. This is just a first look and I'm not that deep into the game yet. I don't have any of these ships to see what I get matched with as I go along. So far I've only been matched with starter ships. During the initial recording, obviously that was my first game. I've played a handful of games since then, and every one I've been against somebody with a starter ship as well. So far so good, playing against folks who seem to be at least my level of, you know, ships and modules and things like that. Maybe not experience. I've only won a couple of games out of about 6 I've played so far. But here's, you can buy the currency that you use to forge cards with the in-game currency. And then here you can buy the in-game currency with direct cash. And then you can buy your card packs, RNG card packs, loot boxes, whatever you want to call them. You can buy 1 pack for 100,000 in-game currency. The rest of them are better values technically if you're spending money on anything, but those are just direct cash purchase only. And that's pretty much it for the cash shop. Overall impressions of the game thus far, pretty obviously I'm giving it a thumbs up for now. There is a few things like the ability to purchase the upgraded ships with just straight cash purchases. Well, not straight cash purchases. You have to buy the in-game currency and use that to buy the ships, but you can get those with money purchases as well as upgrading them through, you know, in-game play. Now they do seem rather expensive, and it does use the same currency that you use to unlock the packs as well. So I mean, if you want to call that pay to win, then I'm not going to argue with you too hard. right now, at the end of the day, you can get it just by playing the game. There's nothing that's available cash shop only that's going to give you an advantage, but you can get that advantage quicker. Just depends on matchmaking. Does the matchmaking long term match you up mostly with folks around your skill level, or if you buy that upgraded ship, are you going to be playing with folks who still have the starter ship too and just raffle stomping wins like that? That's just something that only playing the game over a period of time is really going to tell me, and that's not what this video is about. As always, it's just a first look to get an idea of what the game kind of plays like, so have to keep an eye on that going forward. But overall, you know, the depth of mechanics available, all the different mechanics and gameplay and things to play with and fidget with in the game. As a guy who doesn't particularly like CCGs, I've enjoyed it so far, so I'm giving it a thumbs up for now. As always, who knows what's going to happen? It is still early access. Things could change dramatically. I have a tendency to put out these first looks, and the ones I do almost always end up with some kind of weird fatigue system or some other really hardcore pay to win in the cash shop like the next week. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that plays out, as always. I guess the other system that's a little funky maybe is you can only forge cards that you already have a copy of. I'm not 100% sure that if every CCG is like that. I think a lot of them you can forge cards that you don't have if you're trying to get a particular card, but don't quote me on that. Like I said, not a big CCG guy, so apologies in advance. You can call me out in the comments if you want to for not knowing that, but that's a little annoying. You can only add more of cards you already have instead of trying to get that card you can't seem to get out of the RNG pack, so I don't like that. And the refuel system, like I said, takes some getting used to, so it's you know, it's another little system in the game that can get you a win or cost you a victory if you are or aren't paying attention to that fuel system. So just, you know, keep that in mind as you get into the game. Lots of systems, lots of different ways to win, lots of things to set up and customize your own way so you can get those victories you're looking for. If you win or lose, a lot of it's going to be on you unless you're fighting somebody with an upgraded ship. If you're fighting someone the same level, a lot of strategy and tactics and your decisions are going to make a big difference, and your setup going into a game is going to make a big difference on whether or not you win or lose these games. That's my opinion as of right now. Like I said, early access, you just have to keep an eye on it going forward. That's all we can do for now. So this has been your MMOBomb.com first look for Cosmos Invictus. It is free to play. It is on Steam. You can download it and check it out now. There is no Founders Pack, no cost to enter, anything like that. Completely free. Get in, check it out if it's something you think you might be interested in. As always, in genres like this, man, if they're dominated by like 2 or 3 on the top, like you got Hearthstone and Gwent and things like that, you got to do something a little different to set yourself apart. At the end of the day, this is a CCG. It's going to be very familiar to those of you who do play CCGs a lot, but there's enough mechanics to try to help set it apart, and maybe it can find itself a niche in the genre. We'll just have to see. As always, be sure to check out MMOBomb.com for all your free-to-play gaming news and information. Everything you need to know about free-to-play games is on MMOBomb.com. If you're a fan of staying up late nights and watching people be bad at games, you can follow me on twitch.tv/noobfridge. I'm in the middle of the night kind of guy. Thank you so much for checking out this first look. We're going to call this first look for Cosmos Invictus done, and I am out.